After doing the unthinkable with a dirty village madwoman just once, he found himself completely addicted. He just could not stop going back to her.
I love you.
I love you too.
Once upon a time, there was a man named Kachi. Kachi was a tall, handsome, and hard-working young man, but poverty followed him everywhere like his own shadow. No matter how hard Kachi worked, bad luck always waited for him at his front door. In his village, he did all kinds of menial jobs. He was a bricklayer, a load carrier in the market, and sometimes he even fetched firewood for people just to buy a small cup of garri to drink before sleeping. Kachi had a very tough life. His clothes were completely faded, and his only pair of shoes had a big hole under the sole. Whenever it rained, water would enter his shoes and make a squashing sound as he walked. Because of his suffering, Kachi had a famous question he always asked. Whenever he sat alone under the big mango tree, holding his empty stomach, he would look up at the sky and say, "Who exactly gave birth to poverty?" That was his daily slogan. He was almost 30 years old, but stress made him look like an old man. Because of his extreme poverty, women avoided Kachi completely. If Kachi stood at the village bus stop, fine girls would hold their bags tight and move far away. He tried to talk to a few ladies just to feel loved, but their insults were too heavy. One evening, he tried to talk to a girl named Blessing. Blessing looked him up and down and laughed loudly. "Kachi, look at your life," she said. "A mosquito has more blood than you. If I follow you, I am signing a lifetime contract with hunger. Please let me pass." Those words broke Kachi's heart. He was a man with feelings and desires, but his empty pocket made him invisible. He accepted his fate and decided to focus on his daily survival. One hot Tuesday afternoon, Kachi was walking back to his one-room apartment. He had not eaten anything since morning and felt very weak. As he passed by the old abandoned market square, he saw her. She was a village madwoman. Kachi stopped and looked at her. Her hair was rough and packed with thick dirt. She wore torn, dirty clothes and was busy picking empty plastic bottles from the gutter, laughing at a joke only she could understand. Normally, Kachi would just walk past without looking twice, but something made him stop. Beneath all that dirt, mud, and rough hair, he noticed something surprising. This mad woman was incredibly beautiful. She had a perfect face and a gentle look. "Chai," Kachi whispered to himself, "this world is a very wicked place. Look at a whole angel roaming the streets in madness. Who did this to her?" As Kachi stood there looking at her, she suddenly turned and looked directly into his eyes. Instead of shouting or throwing stones like other mad people in the village, she just smiled at him. That simple, innocent smile pierced Kachi's heart. For a man who had not received a smile from any woman in years, it felt like a warm hug. Kachi reached into his pocket. He had only 100 naira left to his name, which was supposed to be for his dinner. Without thinking twice, he walked to a nearby shop, bought a loaf of soft bread, and walked back to the madwoman. He moved closer carefully and handed her the bread. She collected it quickly, sat on the dusty floor, and started eating happily. Kachi sat a few feet away watching her. "At least somebody is happy because of me today," he smiled to himself. From that day, a strange friendship started. Every time Kachi got small money from his hard labor, he would buy food and go straight to the abandoned market square. The madwoman started recognizing him. Whenever she saw him coming, she would jump up and clap her hands. Months passed. Kachi was still very poor, but he was no longer lonely. Then one cold night, a heavy rain began to fall. The cold was unbearable. Kachi was shivering in his small room. His roof was leaking, his mattress was wet, and a heavy feeling of loneliness wrapped around him. His body craved warmth and affection. Suddenly, his mind went to the madwoman. He remembered her bright smile and her welcoming eyes. A crazy idea entered his head. "She's a woman," he told himself. "She smiles at me. She does not insult me like Blessing or the other girls. She accepts me exactly the way I am." Driven by the cold and intense loneliness, Kachi took his old umbrella and walked through the heavy rain to the abandoned market. He found her shivering in a dark corner, covering herself with a piece of wet cotton. Kachi felt deep pity mixed with desire. He dropped his umbrella, moved close to her and held her. She did not fight him. Instead, she leaned into his warmth. That night, under the cold rain and the leaking roof of the old market, they did the needful. When Kachi woke up the next morning, heavy guilt washed over him. "What have I done?" he asked himself, holding his head. "I have slept with a mad woman." Feeling deeply ashamed, he quietly put on his clothes and ran back to his house before anybody could see him. He promised himself he would never go near that market again. But destiny had a completely different plan for him. That exact afternoon, Kachi was sitting in front of his yard when a big black jeep stopped. A wealthy contractor stepped out. "Are you Kachi the bricklayer?" Kachi stood up, shaking with fear. "Yes, sir, I am the one." The man smiled. "Someone recommended you to me. I have a massive building project in the city. I need a trusted supervisor. I will pay you a huge amount of money every week. Can you start tomorrow?" Kachi almost fainted. He fell to his knees and thanked God loudly. Within 1 month, Kachi's life transformed completely. The contractor loved his hard work and doubled his salary. Money began to flow into Kachi's hands like a river. He moved out of his leaking room and rented a beautiful flat. He bought decent clothes, fine shoes, and a nice car. Kachi had finally arrived. With money came a serious attention. Suddenly, the girls who used to mock him started greeting him with wide smiles. Blessing, the same girl who insulted him, even came to his new house with food to visit him. Kachi welcomed them all. He started living the fast life, dating beautiful, high-class ladies and spending money in fancy restaurants. Pride entered his heart. Because of his new sweet life, Kachi completely forgot about the madwoman. He felt ashamed that he ever associated with her. "I am a big boy now," he told himself. "What is my business with a dirty madwoman?" For 4 full months, he did not visit the old market or buy her bread. He was too busy enjoying the sweetness of the world. But life has a very quick way of teaching proud people bitter lessons. Suddenly, the contractor had a major issue with the government, and the building project was completely shut down. Kachi lost his main source of income. Things went from bad to worse. His new car had a terrible accident and the engine knocked. People who owed him money refused to pay. Before Kachi knew what was happening, his bank account was completely empty. Once again, Kachi was broke, alone, and miserable. He sat on the floor of his empty parlor crying like a baby. His stomach was rumbling with hunger. The friends he bought drinks for were nowhere to be found. That evening, as the cold breeze blew into his empty room, extreme loneliness and frustration hit him again. He remembered that when he had nothing, only one person accepted him, the mad woman. He didn't have any grand plan. He just wanted to feel seen again. He scraped his last 200 naira, bought a small pack of biscuits and water, and walked in the dark to the abandoned market. She was sitting in the same corner, looking thinner and sadder than before. When she saw him, she didn't clap or jump. She just looked at him with tired eyes. Kachi knelt down, gave her the biscuits, and started crying. "I am sorry I left you," he wept. He hugged her tightly. That night, seeking comfort from his painful life, they connected again. Kachi woke up the next morning and went back home feeling a little peaceful but still worried about his poverty. But 2 days later, a miracle happened. His phone rang. It was an international number. A foreign company had seen his past work and wanted him to manage a multi-million naira construction firm. They sent him 5 million naira that same afternoon just to prepare himself. Kachi screamed and jumped around his room. Wealth had returned. He quickly moved out of the flat and rented a massive mansion. He bought 2 big SUVs. People started calling him Chief Kachi. He became richer than he ever imagined. Once again, the money blinded him. Chief Kachi started attending high society parties. He started dating models and actresses. He changed his phone number. The abandoned market square completely erased from his memory. "I am a millionaire now," he boasted to his new rich friends. For 6 whole months, he did not even remember that the mad woman existed. Then, the universe decided to teach him the final lesson. Without any warning, a massive fire burnt down his company's main warehouse. His insurance refused to pay. His foreign partners accused him of bad management and pulled out of the deal. His bank accounts were frozen. His luxury cars were seized to pay off his debts. Within a blink of an eye, the mighty Chief Kachi crashed back to zero. He had to pack his bags and move into a cheap, tiny room in the village. For a whole week, Kachi did not step outside. He sat on his small bed, holding his head. He took a pen and paper and started calculating his life. He asked himself, "How is this possible? I rise and I fall. I rise again and I fall again." He looked at the timeline of his life. Event 1. I slept with the mad woman for the first time. The next day, I got my first big contract. Event 2. I got rich and abandoned her. 2 months later, I lost everything. Event 3. I went back to her when I was broke and slept with her again. 2 days later, a foreign company made me a millionaire. Event 4. I became Chief Kachi, forgot her again, and now my life is destroyed. Kachi dropped the pen. His eyes widened in absolute shock. "My God," he whispered, his hands shaking. "It is not a coincidence. My sudden wealth is tied to that mad woman. She is my spiritual padlock. She is the reason for everything." He finally realized the truth. Without wasting a single second, Kachi rushed out of his room. He went to the market square. When he arrived, she was sleeping on the dirty floor. Kachi fell flat on his chest in the dirt. He was not just crying out of guilt, he was crying out of foolishness. He had been throwing away his own lucky charm. He woke her up gently, bought her good food, and spent the entire evening treating her like a queen. He made a strong vow to himself and to God. "I will never, ever leave you again. I promise." Just as he realized, the magic worked again. By the end of that week, one of his old investments that he thought was dead suddenly paid out millions. Kachi's wealth returned, but this time he was very wise. He did not run after high-class ladies or society parties. Every single evening, no matter how busy his businesses were, Chief Kachi drove his SUV to the market square. He brought her the best food from rich restaurants. He brought her clean blankets. He even hired a private nurse secretly to come and give her vitamins while she slept. As he dedicated his life to her, his wealth exploded beyond imagination. He built estates, started his own construction empire, and became a billionaire. As he became highly successful, his family members brought beautiful, educated women for him to marry. Kachi tried to sit with them, but his mind was always far away. He realized these normal women were completely fake. They only smiled at him because of his money. If he went broke tomorrow, they would all run away, just like Blessing did. But the mad woman, she smiled at him when he had holes in his shoes. She accepted him when he had nothing. Sitting in his massive parlor one night, Kachi realized the absolute truth. It wasn't just about the money anymore. He loved her. He deeply, completely loved a mad woman. How can I marry a normal woman when my heart is with her at the market square? He asked himself. The next morning, Kachi made a bold decision. He was going to bring her to his house to live with him, no matter what people would say. He drove to the market early, but when he arrived, his heart stopped beating. She was not there. Her cartons were scattered and her food was marched into the mud. Kachi panicked. He asked the market women, and they laughed. "Chief, some local boys were throwing heavy stones at her this morning. She ran crying into the deep forest." Kachi abandoned his car with the doors open and ran into the forest. He searched frantically for hours, his expensive clothes tearing on tree branches. Finally, near a small stream, he saw her. She was sitting on the ground, bleeding from a deep cut on her head, crying helplessly. Kachi's heart shattered. He fell on his knees in the mud, pulled her into his arms and held her very tight. "I am here," he wept loudly. "Nobody will ever hurt you again. I love you so much and I don't care about anything else in this world." He wiped the blood from her face and kissed her deeply on her lips. It was a kiss of pure, unselfish love. Suddenly, something incredible happened. The mad woman stopped shaking. Her eyes, which were always wandering and confused, became very clear and still. She blinked, looked at Kachi, and then looked at her dirty hands. A look of total shock covered her face. She pushed Kachi away slightly and covered her chest. "Where am I?" she asked, her voice soft and perfectly normal. "Who are you? Why am I wearing dirty rags?" Kachi froze. The madness had completely left her. She was in her right senses. Kachi quickly wrapped his jacket around her and said, "You are safe. My name is Kachi. You are safe now." He gently carried her to his car and drove straight to his mansion. After his house helps cleaned her up and gave her fine clothes, she stepped into the parlor. Kachi could not breathe. She was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. After eating a warm meal, she finally told him her story. "My name is Nneka," she said quietly, tears falling from her eyes. Nneka was the only daughter of a very wealthy man in a neighboring village. She was brilliant and had just graduated from the university. Her father loved her so much that he gave all his wealth and properties to her before he died. This made her father's younger brother, Uncle Sunday, extremely jealous and wicked. "The last thing I remember," Nneka cried, "was Uncle Sunday giving me a plate of native soup to celebrate my graduation. After I ate, my head was starting spinning. I ran out of the house into the streets. That is the last thing I know." Kachi listened, his blood boiling with anger. It all made perfect sense. Uncle Sunday had gone to a wicked native doctor to make Nneka mad so he could steal her wealth. But spiritual laws are very strict. Because Nneka had an innocent soul, the native doctor warned Uncle Sunday, "I can make her mad, but if any man who is not your blood relative ever falls in pure, true love with her and kisses her while she is still mad, the charm will break and the madness will return to the person who sent it." Uncle Sunday laughed, thinking no man would ever love a dirty mad woman. He did not know about Kachi. The next morning, Kachi drove Nneka straight to her village. When his big SUV entered Nneka's family compound, Uncle Sunday was sitting outside drinking palm wine and enjoying the stolen wealth. Kachi opened the door and Nneka stepped out, looking clean, beautiful and fully sane. The entire compound went dead silent. Uncle Sunday dropped his cup of wine. His eyes widened in fear. "Nneka?" he whispered, trembling. Before anyone could speak, a sudden violent wind blew across the compound. Uncle Sunday let out a terrifying scream and grabbed his head. "Fire! Fire in my brain!" he shouted. Right there, in front of all the villagers, Uncle Sunday tore his clothes, poured dirty sand on his head, and started running towards the village square laughing like a wild animal. The madness had returned to the exact owner. Instant karma had struck. The villagers were in deep shock, but they quickly understood the truth. Nneka's stolen properties and lands were immediately returned to her by the village elders. But Nneka did not care about the wealth. She turned to Kachi, the man who fed her and loved her when she was a nobody. She held his hands and wept. "You saved my life," she said. Kachi smiled softly. "No, Nneka, you saved mine. You brought light into my life when I was in darkness." A few months later, Nneka and Kachi got married in a massive, beautiful wedding. The poor bricklayer and the wealthy heiress combined their lives together. They built hospitals, orphanages, and a special care home for people suffering on the streets. Years later, God blessed them with beautiful children. Kachi would often sit in his massive home, looking at his beautiful family, and remember the days he sat under the mango tree, asking if God was sleeping. Now he knew the truth. Sometimes your biggest blessing is hidden inside your darkest, most unexpected situation.